On this episode of Quantum Week, March 3rd through 9th, 1991.
Quantum Week. Quantum Week.
Welcome to Quantum Week. Quantum Week is a show in which Briggs and I leap into a random week of a random year and talk about the hit song, the hit movie, the headlines of that week. And today we are in March 3rd through 9th, 1991, talking about The Doors and Gonna Make You Sweat. So The Doors is the film, Gonna Make You Sweat is the song. How's it going, Briggs?
Pretty good. I'm excited to talk about this one. It's a cool movie, awesome song. Everyone calls it Everybody Dance Now, but the real title is Gonna Make You Sweat.
Have you noticed that their
in
titles...
parentheses.
In parentheses.
But it's in parentheses. Parenthetically, Everybody Dance Now.
Right. Have you noticed that all of their songs have that? The longest titles in parentheses?
Yeah, I mean, we can get into these guys, but they are not into brevity.
No, they are, long-winded in several ways. Maximalists, that's a good way to say it. Cool. Well, before we start talking about The Doors, the movie, the Oliver Stone movie, just some housekeeping. So we released the first episode that we did together, Briggs and I. It'll be 2 weeks by the time the audience hears this. And it went good. We had good downloads. There was good reaction. So we decided we're going to just keep doing it. But for now, we're going to do it every other week because we are still servicing our other show, Ultimate Playlist. And if you like music and you have not heard that, that's on podcast. Or there's the wacky YouTube show version of that. But both are good options. So check that out. But every other week. And then maybe in the off weeks, like we'll have guests or something. I'll do a show with a guest, or I'll try to make something else happen. But for now, in terms of what our schedule is going to be, in terms of me and Briggs, it'll be every other week. Briggs. Yeah,
That's right.
All right. I think that's it for housekeeping. You want to get into The Doors?
Yeah, let's do it.
Something that you said to me when you kicked or right when we kicked off makes me think that you really like this movie. So tell me, what's your grade? What do you think about it?
I mean, I give it a B. I think it was entertaining, but I mean, it had some issues, and a lot of people have discussed these issues. I mean, historical accuracy is one of the issues, but
Yes.
As a movie, I mean, it was kind of long, but it was very entertaining to watch. There's a lot of good sequences, obviously starring Val Kilmer as Jim Morrison, who was excellent.
Awesome.
He was the best part about the movie,
part.
for sure. He was great.
Far and
He
away.
was really good.
Yeah.
Other people were really good. Excellent cameos in there.
Yeah.
Some good big parts. I mean, I like Kyle MacLachlan.
He's great.
As Ray Manzarek. He's always good.
Yeah.
But yeah, the four dudes who played the Doors were all pretty good. The acting I thought was pretty good. The story was a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's it's Oliver Stone, so it's definitely highly stylized, very psychedelic movie.
Oh yeah.
And some of it was, a little cheesy, I guess.
Yeah.
There's a whole scene where they're all tripping in the desert, chanting like "Ride the Snake" and stuff. I mean, it's kind of funny, but I mean, it's not really intended to be funny.
No, it's not. And that's the thing. If it were some sort of spoofy movie, you'd watch that and you'd laugh along, and it'd be kind of good to keep going as far as they did. But to have like a whole 10-minute
that whole gag was spoofed in Wayne's World 2.
Oh, I totally forget that movie. I might have only seen Wayne Worlds 2 once.
Oh, really?
I've seen the
they
first
have a whole
one
scene
a number of times, but I don't remember the second one very much. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, it has its moments, but they definitely make fun of this movie.
Okay.
There's a whole scene in the desert with a naked Indian, as they call him, and then Jim Morrison's in it as well. It's just they make fun of all that stuff. So
okay, yeah. So it has been spoofed, and rightly so.
Yes.
Like that was such a long segment, and then he goes off on his own over the dunes, and then into this cave, and follows his Native American friend who haunts him since childhood. Yeah. All right. Okay. I'll give you my grade if you don't mind.
Sure.
I had a really hard time with this one because, all right, the movie's not trash. It's not.
No.
Because, like you said, like the Val, if it was just Val Kilmer playing Doors songs with the band for an hour and a half, even, I would be pretty psyched to watch that movie because he is so good. The songs are great.
He's really good.
And he's singing it like it's
he
him.
sings. Yeah.
It's crazy.
In the movie. Apparently for the close-up shots, it's all him. And for the distance shots, they use the original vocals. But apparently Val Kilmer sang over the Doors master tapes.
Yes.
for this thing, so he wouldn't have to lip sync, because it would look weird or whatever.
Imagine doing that too, like getting in front of the masters and being able to lay your own voice over the door. That would be
crazy,
so awesome to do.
But also being so good that the surviving members of the Doors couldn't tell if it was Val or Jim in many cases. Crazy.
It's crazy.
He did a really, really great job.
So, that's definitely the high point, and that is really fun to watch. But I think I got to give it something like a C- because all of the connective tissue is really hard to get through. Like, we don't need, this thing is 2 hours and 20 minutes long, first of all.
Yeah, it's way too long.
And again, so just like CNC Music Factory isn't known for their brevity, Oliver Stone is not,
totally,
is not known for his brevity. And some of these like psychedelic sequences are they're just going on way too long. It's like, okay, establish the premise early on. So like, one of the first scenes we see is him as a kid in the car with his family, and they're driving. They go see that car wreck, which is apparently, it really affected him.
It's like a formative incident for him.
Right. But that's kind of psychedelic too and dreamlike. And there are a lot of disputes from his family members on what actually happened there. But, we're establishing sort of the dreamlike nature of it right there in the beginning. And that's fine. Like, I'm okay with it because we're looking at it from a sort of a child's view, an interpretation of what we think that he thought as a child. So that makes sense. But then, I think part of the problem is we know that he is high off of his gourd and drunk, for the last 6 or 7 years of his life. And so maybe that adds to the ambiance. So you add sort of the psychedelic components to it, or the surrealist components to it, but it just got in the way for me. And I'm like, what is this movie about anymore? So that was a big issue. And I feel like if they took out 30 minutes of the movie of that,
easily could have been done.
An hour and 50 minutes long, I would feel vastly different about this movie. Like, what do you think about that?
I 100% agree. It was really long. I mean, I gave it a B because I think it's entertaining. If you like music, if you like the Doors, it's worth watching. I think it's not, like you said, it's not trash. It's a well-made movie.
No, it's not.
It's just it's pretty overblown and pretty stretched out.
The other thing that I have with it is like, Val Kilmer does a great job. Jim Morrison's phenomenal. And the other one I really liked was McLaughlin doing Manzarek. Like, I think that's
he was great.
That's an awesome part. And but when I was thinking through, how many of the characters are memorable throughout? Like, I guess McLaughlin is to me, because I just think he does a great job. McLaughlin's so good because he can play like really naive and innocent, but in this he's like, you can tell like he's a super smart guy, right? That's processing kind of wild on the inside, but like very composed on the outside, but super smart. And he plays that so well. So that's memorable. Pam's kind of memorable, more so because she's bitchy. And then Patricia, the other Patricia, she's memorable too, because she's
she's a witch.
She's a witch.
Yeah.
So that's memorable. But like, I feel like the other Doors members, like, did Jim really interact with them much? Like, I can think of one or two times where he has direct conversation.
They kind of whined.
They whined.
Yeah, they whined a lot, right? They basically complained about what a hot mess he was.
Right. So they just like sink into the background of the movie to me. Mm-hmm. Like, they're as important as say Billy Idol.
Yeah, right.
And the funny thing to me is that Oliver Stone, when he films this, you are seeing the periphery a lot. Like, he moves the camera away from the action to the periphery so you can see like the circus and spectacle. Right. But by doing that, you're like not defining some of the main characters in this. It shouldn't be called the Doors. If they're the periphery, it should be called the Jim Morrison story or something, Right. So.
And apparently they only really showed one side of Jim Morrison too, the drunk out of control guy that the band members referred to as Jimbo. Like when he got drunk, they're like, oh, Jimbo's back again. So, but apparently he was like a really sweet and charming guy when he was sober. Yeah. But they, to be fair, they didn't really show him sober in this movie too much.
No, and that's my thing too. That's my other thing is like, are we supposed to like him in this movie? Because
he's not likable.
I left the movie. I'm like, I don't like this guy.
I mean, he's super charismatic.
He's charismatic.
But yeah, not really a likable guy or a good guy.
No, I mean...
Clearly has a death wish, right? I mean, but that's kind of a rock star thing.
Yeah. Death wish or at least flirtation with or obsession with, for sure.
Yep.
But then, like, they also show him as abusive, a tantrum prone, very childish. They show him as a drug addict, an alcoholic.
Yep.
And like they also show him saying kind of a ton of nothing too. Like he's just like, he just kind of spouts off this poetry that doesn't have a lot of meaning to it.
Right.
Maybe if you're a kid and you see that, you can infer some meaning or some of the Nietzsche stuff or whatever. But like as an adult as a 40-something year guy watching this, I'm like, I have no time for this motherfucker. Like, I just don't. But like, so I know Oliver Stone loved the Doors. Like he said he first heard the Doors when he was on tour in Vietnam. He was like 21 years old and he heard the Doors and like, you know, he's like, oh my God, what is this? But then to make this movie showing Jim Morrison just spiral. Like nothing really, the beginning is kind of, you know, when he's a kind of a wide-eyed college student and he's doing his student film and he's getting to know, I think it's kind of a fun scene for him to like gently stalk Pam and like, you know, go into a room or whatever. That's kind of charming, I guess.
It's a little more than gentle. Doesn't he just show up in her bedroom or something?
But he doesn't seem threatening. Anyway, those are playful, I guess. But then later on,
she didn't seem too bothered by it. Yeah, but then he locks her in a closet and lights it on fire.
That's right. That's what I mean. Is he's just
pretty wild.
This abusive guy, and is that well? And that's what they're showing. That's what Oliver Stone is showing to us. So
sure.
I'm like,
I mean, surely that was a part of his personality, but I don't think that was the whole of his personality, right? And that's what the members of the Doors said as well.
Yeah. So I wonder why. Like, I just don't understand the frame here. I don't understand why Stone, if you love the band. And
seems like a weird choice.
And there's other things
to portray him as that bad of a dude. Yeah, go ahead.
No worries. Like, no, cut me off whenever. I'll talk forever on this thing. So just tell me to shut the hell up and just take over. But
no, keep going.
But the other thing that makes that really weird, that choice weird, is he had to do the film in collaboration with Jim Morrison's family. And Pam, what's Pam's last name? Pam is
Corson. Corson? Is that what it is?
Corson, Courson, Corson, that's right. So he had to do it in conjunction with in collaboration with the Morrison family and the Corson family. Because Pam dies a few years after.
Right, also at age 27, I think. Yeah. But so she was married to Jim Morrison. So when he died, the rights to his stuff went to her. And then when she died, the rights went to her parents, I guess. So they have no relation to Jim Morrison.
No, not at all. But because of that.
And then that family still controls the rights to his stuff.
Yeah, to like a bunch of his poetry.
I understand.
Yeah. But so with that in mind, he's doing the film. He has to do it in collaboration with those two families. And they don't make him portray Jim in like a nicer way. I mean,
they probably didn't like him. Her family probably didn't like him, right? Because I mean, they know how he treated her and everything else, and then she's dead because of drugs and whatever. Yeah. And presumably, you could envision a different path for her had she not gotten together, or had Jim Morrison not shown up in her bedroom,
jumped on her balcony, and stole her away from her old man.
Right,
she called him. Okay, no, that's a good point. But then the Morrison family, though, because I know he was estranged from his parents and siblings. And there's weird reports on that. Some of it could have just been because he was trying to protect them because he's this huge star. Others could be he was trying to distance himself because his dad was rear admiral of the Navy during the Gulf of Tonkin stuff. But either way, like his family seemed to still like love and appreciate him. So you're doing it in a collaboration with his family, but yet and they don't make you portray Jim Morrison like at least gives part of the other side.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's very little of the other side of him, right?
No, it is 20 minutes.
But apparently
20 minutes of Jim being charismatic. And 2 hours of debauchery.
Some of the debauchery was fun, it's entertaining to watch. Yeah. Like the stage antics were good, the live show stuff was cool. Even, historical accuracy aside, he's telling a story, Oliver Stone is, I guess, but he could have definitely done it in a different light with respect to Jim Morrison.
Give us something from the other side. I mean, please.
Yeah.
Like because all we see are all eye rolls from his band, basically.
Totally. I mean, Manzarek, he was the biggest hater of the film. The real Manzarek. He said Oliver Stone did real damage to the guy I knew, Jim Morrison, the poet.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
then Densmore, the drummer, he said? A third of it's fiction. Talking about the movie.
Right.
So. Who was it? Robbie Krieger.
Robbie.
He had the best take on it. He said it could have been a lot worse. So none of those guys liked it.
No, none of them liked it.
But especially Manzarek hated it. He turned down requests to help in the movie. Densmore, the drummer, he's in the movie. He does a cameo. He's like the engineer at the beginning or something like that.
That's right.
So I think out of the dudes, he probably liked it the best because he was in it.
Yeah, maybe he got a little bit
But I guess Robbie Krieger was like, Robbie Krieger was like a consultant on the film.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to make sure that people knew that he wrote Light My Fire, not Jim Morrison.
They definitely
and
made
they
us know
made
that.
a point. Oh, for sure. But I mean, that's an interesting tidbit because I don't know if people would know that.
No, I would not.
I certainly
have
wouldn't have.
No.
I would have assumed it was another, Jim Morrison thing.
He did, but then the character in the movie does come across as like as a whiny, like wants his attention but never gets attention. Like that's how he's
Robbie
portrayed.
Krieger, for sure. Yeah, he seems like the wimp of the bunch.
Totally the wimp. Yeah, but he wrote a bunch of their, or at least co-wrote a bunch of their famous songs, including like some of the lyrics.
He's a good guitar player.
He is a good guitar
player too.
He is
kind of cool style, not like super flashy, just like cool licks.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, let's just talk about the Doors here for a second too. So I was never a huge fan of the Doors, but the hits, like I'm into the hits.
Sure, everyone knows the hits.
But like as an older adult, looking back, I really appreciate the Doors a lot more now than I did. I mean,
same. I missed out on them when I was younger too, except for the hits, of course.
Yep.
And later on listening, I'm like, okay, I get what these guys were doing.
Totally get it. Yeah, I think their vibe is really cool. I love how sparse the instrumentation is.
Yep.
But how very good they all are at their instruments. I mean, especially Manzarek and Robbie.
Yeah,
they're
he's
both
great.
Both really great. And their song style and choice. I love how dark it is. Like the end. It's not a song I would have liked in my youth. I liked happy songs in my youth, but now listening back to it. Maybe
the
not
end is great.
Maybe not the entire 11-minute song or whatever, but like the regular parts of it. The end is like it's a beautiful song. So
totally. I mean, especially for the time, like what was that album 1967?
Yeah, I think so.
So, the closing track on an album from 1967 is that crazy long, the end. I mean, it's pretty awesome.
It is pretty awesome.
Divorced from the period, maybe it's a little different. It hits a little different, but I don't know. I still think it's a good song.
Yeah, it is a good song. And the Doors, I'm going to start listening to more of the Doors. But so back to Jim Morrison here too. So Ebert from Roger Ebert from Siskel and Ebert fame. Who I love reading his old reviews. They're always like really great. Entertaining. But he said watching the movie, and I agree with this. He says watching the movie is like being stuck in a bar with an obnoxious drunk and you're completely sober. Like you can't get out.
Yes. Ebert nailed it. That is what it feels like. And there's literally that scene in the movie.
There is that
where
scene.
he gets wasted and starts peeing all over the bar, and then they kick him out and
still kisses the bartender on the mouth.
Yeah, right. And she kisses him back.
I know.
And that's with Billy Idol is his drinking buddy in that, right?
Cat. Yeah, he plays Cat.
Cat. Apparently he was good. I didn't recognize him at first. I saw the name in the beginning and then I heard his voice and I'm like, oh, that's Billy Idol. He was apparently supposed to have a bigger part in the movie. He was supposed to play, I think, the Michael Madsen part, the Tom Baker character.
He would have been good as that.
He was supposed to do it, but then he got in a wicked motorcycle accident.
Right.
He couldn't walk. So that's why he's on like crutches and stuff in the movie. He was all messed up, so he couldn't do the larger role.
I remember that happening.
So they put him as Cat. Yeah.
That's interesting.
But kind of a cool tidbit.
I love Billy Idol, and I think he's super fun in this movie. And Madsen, actually, they waste Madsen in this film. Like he doesn't really do much.
He's usually good. Billy Idol would have been better as that character.
Probably, yeah. But Madsen's great usually. Like he's just so
totally.
There's a lot of menace there, so he's kind of a fun person.
Kind of a nonchalant performance by him.
It was. Yeah.
Usually he's pretty magnetic, he'll grab it was a scene stealer,
Exactly. Yeah, he jumps off the screen.
Yeah, not so much in this one. He's fine, nothing against him. I thought it was a good, fine performance, but it wasn't like, holy shit, that's awesome.
No, yeah, and I guess maybe this is early. Well, what was Michael Madsen doing now? Because Reservoir Dogs happens after this, I think, right? It must happen I don't remember, but 92 or 93, and that's where...
Yeah, that makes sense.
At least in my memory, that's kind of when I sort of place him, and then he does a bunch of the other.
Well, he's certainly memorable in that movie.
He really is. He is so menacing. But so maybe it's early enough in his career that he wasn't really getting those roles yet. But he has a very bit part here. As do like a lot of people. I mean, the acting talent in here is really good. I mean, besides Val, like Kevin Dillon is good.
Yeah, he's
like
good.
He would have been to have a. He's in the band, but he doesn't have a big enough part. Like he would be better.
Right. Yeah, he was mostly kind of just complaining about Jim Morrison.
That's right.
That was the bulk of his role. The best cameo in the movie. There's a couple good ones. The best one is for me is Crispin Glover.
He's so good
as Andy Warhol. He's
so
awesome.
good.
I like him. I like him in everything because he's such a weirdo.
He's
truly a weirdo.
So weird.
And he does a pretty good Warhol. I mean, a lot of people have played Warhol. David Bowie played Warhol.
Yeah.
But Crispin Glover, when you show up in the room with Andy Warhol and it's him, it's just like awesome. This is perfect.
I just love his eyes.
It was really good.
I love his eyes. He's like all spaced out, like all wide-eyed and spaced out, talking to Jim Morrison. That is is it right of the. I really like Ray Manzarek in this, but I'd say Warhol is probably my second favorite in the entire movie.
As a cameo, though, like it was really good.
It was a great. Yeah,
there's a bunch of people that show up. Oliver Stone did a cameo too. He was the professor in the film school.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that makes sense. What was I going to say? There was something. Oh, there's all these loose ends too. It ends so abruptly. Like
it totally does.
He's in a bathtub.
I mean, I was glad it was over.
Yes,
because it was really long. But yeah, it's like all of a sudden, dead in a bathtub.
Dead in a bathtub.
End of the movie.
Like no interaction from the
wrap up
from the band after that, right? Like I'm not remembering this differently, right? Like
it just ended.
It's just grave. That's it.
Yeah, they showed his grave and they did like a card at the end that said, blah blah blah. He died under suspicious circumstances or whatever. Apparently, in France at the time, you didn't have to get an autopsy.
Well, that's great.
On a body, so they didn't. So I mean, he must have OD'd, right? But the official cause of death is like heart failure or something like that.
Yeah, but it seems I don't think he died in that tub. It does seem more likely that he died of an overdose. It sounds like he was maybe an overdose in a club and someone carried him back to his room and just kind of left him there. That's what I read. But yeah, no autopsy, so we don't really know what happened to him. I'm sure he wasn't murdered. Like he was an asshole, but he was kind of beloved. So
no, it seems like it was probably an accident.
Yeah,
right?
probably
like
an
bad
accident.
Shit, or he took too much, or whatever. I mean, he was off the rails on drugs.
But usually you see
probably
some sort of
taking
reaction.
a bunch of different stuff. Yeah, I guess. I mean.
From like a band, or from Pam or something, but nothing.
Right. Yeah, usually there's some falling action, right? I mean, that really wasn't the climax of the movie, but it's definitely the end of it.
Yeah, and then to talk about her too and her death, it was just like a little, screen at the end saying that she died 3 years later, and that was kind of it. I thought they really did her a disservice too, which was the other thing that I thought was super odd, having to be in collaboration with her family. They wanted her to look like an angel, and I mean, she just looked whiny and petulant too. I remembered her being, I totally, in my head, thought that before I saw this again, 2 days ago, that she was a stronger character in this movie. But she really wasn't. She was just kind of a pushover. In the beginning, she's got a little bit of strength to her character, but she's a complete pushover. She allows, at least in the film, her life to kind of be controlled 100% by, Jim Morrison, going wherever he goes.
Very subservient to him. Yeah.
Yeah. She's like jewelry. I think she even makes that joke sometime. Like when they're getting on the plane, they ask what her name is and occupation, and she says something like, I don't know. Yeah, her name and then
like accessory or something like that.
Yeah, something.
I don't remember what it was, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But they also didn't portray her as an angel. Like they show her, she gets caught shooting smack.
She wasn't an angel, right? I mean, no one was. I mean, of course, the family wants to portray their daughter in the movie as an angel, but come on, she definitely wasn't. Like this is the '60s, right? These guys were getting blasted all the time on a variety of substances. Guaranteed, they were doing some shady stuff. Every single one of them.
Briggs,
right?
how do you go through life like that? I have no concept.
Well, you only make it to 27.
I guess. But I mean, you have to be chauffeured everywhere too. I mean, I just can't even.
I guess
see a situation where it functions.
Or I mean, people. Yeah, right. I mean, maybe they didn't worry about that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, Jim Morrison was always late to stuff too, right? I mean, if you're a hot mess, you're a hot mess.
I guess.
And it sounds like they were enabling each other as well, and they had a pretty toxic relationship, right? It seems like they loved each other, but in a pretty fucked up way.
Really weird way. Yeah. Absolutely. What else did you... So my list of things in terms of praise for this movie was the performances, of course, the Andy Warhol scene, which I loved, and Kyle MacLachlan. Like those all seemed like really positive in the concert footage, but most of the other stuff I was just really kind of...
It's like...
surprised.
Come on, get to the next scene. Yeah.
That it went like this. I'd sort of, I hadn't seen it in forever, but I'd sort of I have this perception of Oliver Stone as a filmmaker, and yes, he's verbose and he does longer things, but I also kind of put him in the master category, and then watching this, I was like, I don't know anymore. I don't know.
Right. I mean, it was well made. Like, it was like shot. It looked good. It looked really good. I thought the cinematography was good. But yeah, it was pretty bloated.
It was bloated. So then I looked and I was like, well, is this how he was, or is this kind of a mistake? And I actually think it was more of a mistake because I looked at his run here from 1986 on, basically. So he does some movies earlier than that. I don't remember them. Like he does. I actually don't have that. So he
wrote a bunch of movies too. He wrote Scarface.
He did write stuff, right? And he was a producer on a bunch of. He was very active, not just as a director, including a writer and a producer. Yes, but so before '86, he had a career, but I wasn't, really focused on that. But '86, he does Platoon, and you and I didn't, but Quantum Week covered Platoon, and I thought it was overrated looking back at it, but still very good in many ways, including the performances. More like Charlie Sheen wasn't very good, but everybody else was. Like Berenger was like amazing. But anyway,
apparently Kyle MacLachlan was supposed to play the Charlie Sheen role.
He would have been better.
Platoon,
that would have been
turned it down.
Way better movie, honestly. That might have actually put that into a category for me. I think I gave it a B or something. But Platoon, but anyway, regardless, it still does amazingly well in the theaters. It gets 7 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture and Best Director. So that's 86. 87, he gets he does Wall Street. And that does well in the theaters. Michael Douglas gets an Academy Award for that performance. That's 87. Then he does Born on the 4th of July in 89, which has got a bunch of nominations as well. He gets Best Director, I think. Then The Doors in 91, which I think is this flopped too in the theater. It wasn't the worst flop.
Barely made any money, right? It was like basically break even. I saw differing reports on the budget, anywhere from 32 to 38 million, and apparently it made around 34.
Exactly. And then who knows about in terms of marketing. So it might not have, it probably lost money. But anyway, so he does this in 91, but then he does JFK also in 91, crazy year. That gets eight Academy Award nominations, including picture and director. So I think The Doors is just kind of an anomaly because everything else around it is much better in terms of like an overall movie.
Yeah. It's interesting. Apparently he was trying to make the movie for almost 20 years. It was in development hell for a while, and they were trying to figure out how they wanted to do it. So who knows? I mean, is it possible that he just kind of, I mean, you can't really phone in a movie like that. But
no, you can't.
If he had made it earlier or something like that, maybe he would have had more time to focus on it, or maybe he just wanted to get it done after all that time.
I think that's a good question. I also, I saw him talk about how hard it was to do this. So he wrote the script too with a co-writer, but he wrote the script. And he talked about how hard it was script-wise, and I think it's because he had to get all that input from the families and the former Doors. Right. He couldn't do it without co-sign from all those parties.
He wasn't able to make the movie he wanted to make?
Yeah, I think that's that seems likely, given the scenario. It must have been so hard to do because just all these factions that you have to deal with, beyond just the producers of the film or the money people of the film, which are hard enough. And then the actors, which are hard enough to deal with. But then all these
you have all
families.
The family and
Yeah, and it must have been also challenging too because he knows that the Doors, maybe not as much now, but I would imagine in 91, when the Doors were still fresh enough, it would only been, 20 years since
20
he died
years,
or something. So they were beloved, and he probably felt a lot of pressure in terms of the culture icon, portraying them the right way to the culture. But I don't know. I wonder if he also made a mistake in how he approached it. So how he approached it was he looked at the movie in terms of songs. He's like, what are the songs that I love about the Doors? And then I'm going to do segments based on those songs. And so it's a cool concept, but it also makes it harder from a narrative perspective to go, from one side to the other. Like if you're doing flashbacks and you're moving in and out of stuff, it's hard to the narrative threads of we did this, then we did this, then we did this were not as tight. And sometimes that works, but maybe it doesn't work exactly for this film, especially with all the surrealist stuff, which is pulling us away from the narrative anyway.
Right.
I don't know. Very challenging movie, but so is JFK.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Well, yeah, he definitely puts out a challenge a lot of times, and it's, frequently interspersed. I mean, I know a lot of people thought that this movie was kind of interspersed with a lot of political commentary and such. I didn't really feel that as much.
I didn't feel that.
I mean, if you want to read into it, you can read in anything into anything.
Yeah.
But I didn't think this was as overt as some of his other movies.
No.
Which are clear social commentary, like Natural Born Killers or something like that.
Of course. Right.
Satire on the media.
Yeah, right.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I did not get that. There was no message hammer.
I didn't either.
But that could also be like nowadays message hammers are so overt because we're so stupid now.
Right.
Like,
maybe it's subtly in there.
way
right?
more subtle
I might have
back in
just
the
not
day.
got it. I didn't get it.
But I didn't sense it either. So it didn't feel like it wasn't as anti-Vietnam as you would have expected. Besides like Jim Morrison not wanting to have anything to do with his dad. That was the only kind of piece that I saw. I mean, he was just more rambly. Like he wasn't in the film. He's just rambly. He's not like rambly to a political point,
Right.
More like he's existential, like talking about the quality of being or life, but not and death, but not like the political climate. There was there was a little bit of the him up against the cops or of course his trial and stuff.
Sure.
So there was a little bit of like the censorship stuff that was coming in, but that was portrayed.
But I mean, that's just aggression against an authority, right?
Exactly.
And that's kind of one of his things.
Yeah, exactly. And that was part of his life. I mean, he was doing that, to not include
that was real, right? He got arrested for supposedly whipping it out, but apparently it was just his finger through the zipper hole.
Well, that's what they showed us.
Everyone else in the band who was there, they said that he didn't actually expose himself, that it was a fake.
Yeah, I mean,
he stuck his finger out the pants.
It would have kind of surprised me if he did, because he was not like, he was pretty shy, even though he did some photo shoots. Yeah. He was pretty shy, and so for him to have done it would have been out of character.
Right.
He would have been out of control. I think. I don't know, but that was it. Like you're right. I didn't see any big political, commentary throughout this.
Right.
But maybe I missed it too. Maybe we both missed it. We were just enthralled with the Val Kilmer performance, and
he was excellent,
dude. So good, so good. I also want to talk about Val Kilmer a little bit too, if you don't mind. Yeah,
sure.
I mean, I asked myself if I've been doing like a lot of like overrated, underrated in my head lately. I don't know why, but just like kind of going through musicians and actors and things. Sure. And so I asked myself, and I'll pose this to you, was Val Kilmer, like a few things, was Val Kilmer overrated, underrated? And did he have the career that he should have had? Those are my two questions for you.
I think he's accurately rated. I mean, he's a pretty good actor. He continuously puts out a pretty solid performance for like 20 years or whatever.
Yeah.
He played Batman. Like he's in a bunch of big stuff.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't hate Val Kilmer. I think he was well utilized. I know some people said he was underutilized, but I think he had a great career. He got to play like iconic, real and fictitious characters. Jim Morrison, Batman, Top Gun guy, Iceman.
He's
Batman,
in all the man.
He's in, yeah, right. He's in all of these classic movies. And then, poor guy got throat cancer or whatever. That's pretty rough.
Super rough.
Yeah. But I always liked him. I liked him in Real Genius in the 80s. I thought it was a great movie. I loved that as a kid.
I loved it as a kid.
Don't know how it holds up.
Me neither.
But I thought he was always very compelling.
So you think accurately rated, and you think he had a good career and about what he should have?
I think so.
What do you think? I think he's underrated and didn't have the career that he should have. And because I think he's a phenomenal talent. Like I think that this performance. And I didn't remember this. Like, so we covered on Quantum Week Top Gun, and we covered Tombstone. And Top Gun, I don't think holds up. It's not good. I don't like Tom Cruise in it. And the movies, I don't think the dogfighting scenes are amazing, but the movie doesn't hold up to me. But he's good in it, and he's right. He's the hero in the movie to me. Like Iceman is the hero. Like he's saying the right things. But he's phenomenal as Doc Holliday in Tombstone.
Yeah,
and it is a absolute tragedy. I mean, not like the worst tragedy, but it's an absolute tragedy in terms of movies that he was not nominated for an Academy Award for that as supporting actor. It is crazy to me that didn't happen. And then I know this wasn't as well received movie. Like Ebert gave it 2.5 stars or whatever, but he was phenomenal in this movie as Jim Morrison, and like he should have been nominated for an Academy Award for this as well. And
agreed.
And so to me, I think he's underappreciated, undervalued, underestimated, and that stinks. And then I think he should have had like a career. But I also think some of it was his choices, and he shouldn't have taken some of the movies that he took. yes, Batman made a lot of money, but movie was widely panned. That was not a good one.
It's not a very good movie.
Not very good at all. And I think a lot of the choices he made later on, The Saint did a lot of money, but
that made a lot of money.
Not good. I mean, he's on track for a little while. Willow actually sucks, which is too bad because I remembered loving it from my childhood, and it's not a good movie. He's pretty good in it, but he's good in Top Gun. He's good in Heat too, but he's like third fiddle there because you got Al Pacino,
right.
De Niro. Like it's a tough place to make his mark, but he fits in really well there. So, but I don't know. I think he made some later choices that didn't make sense to me, and I don't know why he did. The only explanation, I mean, some of his paycheck, like the Batman thing's a paycheck. It was a huge movie. It sucked, but it was huge. But then I also think, he was kind of known as being hard to work with. So
yeah, I saw that. So maybe that contributed.
But I don't know how much of that, because I also saw counter arguments there too, where other people that he acted with were like, no, the dude was the ultimate professional. He was amazing in his role. He just got into his role and like didn't get out of it. Like he was method.
Right.
So
I saw one quote about him. Someone who worked with him on Tombstone was like, "Yeah, I know Doc Holliday, but I never met Kilmer."
Never shook his hand.
So, hey, what
But he's phenomenal in that role.
Right? Like, yeah, exactly.
You can't. Yeah, I mean, just so good. But so let's see who for Tombstone. These were the other actors that were nominated for Best Supporting Actor. Tommy Lee Jones won for The Fugitive. I'm okay with that. Like, that's a great movie.
He was good in that.
And he's very good in that. Leonardo DiCaprio in What's Eating Gilbert Grape. As far as I remember, he's really good at that, but I get in that. I have not seen it in forever.
I haven't seen it in a while, but I remember him being good in it. Yeah.
Ralph Fiennes in Schindler's List. I remember him being good in that. John Malkovich in The Line of Fire. I don't know. And then Pete.
I don't remember that one.
I remember, yes, I haven't seen it in a long time, but Pete Postlethwaite in the Name of the Father, which I mean, nowhere near as iconic or memorable as him as Doc Holliday. So
right, yeah,
I didn't understand that at all. And then so I feel like he could have fit in there, and it would have. Sorry, that was best. Was that best supporting? Yeah, for Tombstone. And then for Best Actor in 1991, this is what happens. You got Jeremy Irons in Reversal of Fortune. He wins. Don't remember that movie. Not memorable.
Me either.
Certainly, Jim Morrison's way more memorable. Kevin Costner dances with wolves. I mean, it's an iconic movie. Okay, fine. He's nominated. Robert De Niro in Awakenings. Amazing. Does a great performance there. And okay, I'm all right with that. Gerard Depardieu in Cyrano. Is it Cyrano de Bergerac? Is that how you spell it? De Bergerac.
Cyrano, I think.
Cyrano de Bergerac. Me and my pronunciations of names. Should not have been. I mean, no. And then Richard Harris in The Field. Now, I love Richard Harris, but that movie's not memorable at all. I can't think of a better performance.
Val should have got the nomination
at
for
least.
The Doors.
Yeah.
For sure.
And then
and probably should have won it. I mean, he was very good. Like, really, really good. He even looked like him. It was like... It was very believable. I saw one thing, like they were talking to Val Kilmer, and he said that he's seen people who have... quote unquote Jim Morrison tattoos that is him with Val Kilmer. They got like the wrong tattoo. They got like amazing. the cover of the film or whatever, which is Val stylized as Jim. And people got that tattooed instead of the real Jim Morrison.
That's amazing. Yeah.
I mean, that speaks to how good he was.
Yeah, he was amazing
and believable. Yeah.
So at least like nominate him, and then duke it out with Dances with Kevin Costner. Or whatever. Like,
but at least throw him the nomination. He should definitely have been nominated.
Yeah, should have been.
Agreed.
So I think that's egregious, and so that's why I think he was underappreciated, underrated, and didn't have the career like he could have. He could have been. I just think he's a good looking guy. Could have been a really great leading actor in a number of films, and for whatever reason, it just didn't. He was successful, and I'm not going to say like his movies made a lot of money.
I understand.
It's not that.
I understand your perspective now.
It's just nobody.
And I agree. He is a little under recognized. He was certainly utilized, and the movies made a lot of money.
That's right.
But yeah, he definitely should have been nominated for The Doors.
Sure.
I think probably should have won. He was so good.
So good. Yeah. Yeah, but some of his contemporaries, had a better or more like, had a better career, like Tom Cruise or something, so.
Right.
And here we are. But yeah, I loved his performance. I think I would just watch that. If they just showed me a concert footage of Val Kilmer singing Doors tunes, I would be psyched to watch it. So.
Right. I mean, that's kind of unanimous, right? Everyone praised his performance because it was just excellent. He was really good.
So good. Yeah, cool. Yeah, anything else that we need to talk about? We went through Oliver Stone, we went through the characters, we went through the movie. Did anything else we need to talk about with the Doors, or do you think we should move on for this to the song?
Yeah, let's move on.
So I guess I would. You would recommend it. You give it a B. So I
think. I would say maybe with a caveat. Like if you're a casual movie fan, I mean maybe skip this one. But if you like music, if you like Doors, music, I think it's worth watching.
Absolutely. And if you want to see an amazing performance, that's what I wanted to ask you. If you want to see an amazing performance, then you're going to see it with Val Kilmer.
Yep.
I couldn't think of anybody else who did a biopic, like a musician biopic, better than he did Jim Morrison. I couldn't think of one. I don't know if you thought about that at all.
I can't think of anything off the dome. I mean, he was so good.
So good. Cool. All right. Let's move on to Gonna Make You Sweat.
Hit all over the world. US, Austria, Germany, Sweden, #1.
Everywhere. Everybody was dancing now.
Yeah. CNC Music Factory.
Yeah, this was, so it's a funny, like I think, so we talked about CNC Music Factory on Ultimate Playlist. And I remember, I think I said at the time, the album was underrated as well. And I listened closer today. Like I listened to a couple of their albums today because it's a strange band.
Yeah, totally.
But I guess I wouldn't say like an underrated album, but like I would say there's 5 songs on this album that are great. And then the rest is just kind of like fluff. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's kind of typical of the time, right? You have a few singles on there and then you put some filler in to fill out the album.
Yeah.
And this was a popular album. The album went to #2 on the Billboard Top 200.
Yeah, sold 5-6 million copies. I mean, it was from out of nowhere. I mean, they had a career before this, but yeah, this like launched them and et cetera. But I like the first 4 songs on the album are great. You've got Gonna Make You Sweat. Everybody dance now.
Yep.
You got Here We Go, Let's Rock and Roll. You've got Things That Make You Go Home, and then you got Just a Touch of Love. And all those songs I think are like really good songs. It's probably the best one.
Solid A side.
Solid A side.
Back when you had A and B sides. I guess they still do vinyl.
Yeah. Well, and we had the CD, so we didn't flip that
right
around, did we? We just put that in the player.
Play it straight through.
Or if it was a tape, I guess. Yeah, we could have.
Yeah, tape. Yeah.
I might have had this on tape. I don't know. 91?
I don't think I had this album, but if I did, it would have been a tape.
It would have been. I was getting CD because now I think maybe my first one was MC Hammer. I think that was my first CD.
Oh, okay.
But that was before, I think that was 90 or 89 or 90. So I had a CD player at this time, but I also had a tape deck. It was both.
Yeah. Totally.
But we did records in the house.
Yeah, same. I had all 3 eventually.
Yeah.
Record, tape, CD.
Yeah, so we were flipping sides, but I think I had this on disc. So anyway, the first 4 songs are great, and there's another one towards the end. But it's really, besides Just a Touch of Love, it's all because Freedom Williams is on there, I think. I mean,
yeah, he's good.
He's kind of the compelling part of this.
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, also,
he's the front man, right? He's the front man.
You know, Martha, what is her? Wash, like she's great on this.
Martha Wash, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then the other woman who sings, I can't remember her name.
Zelma Davis.
Zelma Davis, right? She sings on the rest of the song. She's good too.
Yeah, she's pretty good.
But it's him. Like he's kind of the guy that
he's great.
Latch onto.
He kind of sounds like Ice-T, but he's not as threatening.
He's your friendly neighborhood Ice-T.
Yeah. He's Ice-T with a little extra sugar in it.
That's right. Yeah, but what a way to open a record too. Like this is the first track on the album, and from out of nowhere, like the first thing you hear is Martha Wash singing, screaming basically at you, everybody dance now. And it's like, oh, okay, it just wakes you right up.
Commanding you.
Yeah, I mean, I got right out of my chair and just like started boogieing, but
right. Also, well, she was from the Weather Girls, right? It's Raining Men. That's her singing that, right?
Yeah.
But then in the video for this song, they didn't put her in the video, and they had the Zelma lady lip syncing Martha Wash's parts, which is kind of bogus.
I do think that's bogus, and there was pushback, and I see why there was pushback. Mm-hmm. But it's not like Zelma Davis was just a face, because
right.
She sang. I mean, she's a beautiful.
She's
girl,
also in the band.
She's in the band, and she sang the other tracks. I think Martha Wash sang just this one. This was her.
I think so. Well, they should have put her in the video.
I agree, but it's not as bad as it could have been. Like
no, you're right.
Yeah, like
it's not like they just hired some random model off the streets who had no musical involvement with the project and said, "Hey, lip sync this." Right?
No, Zelma was in the band, right?
Yeah.
But yeah. So, but I think maybe because the song, I think they brought in Martha because she could hit the note. Like they screaming at that. She was saying it was really high in the range, and she said it was originally written for someone else, but they couldn't handle it. So I wonder, it could have been that Zelma Davis couldn't like quite hit that high, like the
maybe right
the high note there. And then
at least maybe not as powerfully.
Not
right?
as powerfully.
Man, she belts it out in this.
Yeah, she belts it out. All right, so let's talk about CNC Music Factory. So there's Strange.
Sure. Yes.
So CNC it's two people, right? And I'm going to pronounce this guy's name.
The two producers, David Cole and Robert Clavillis.
Clavillis, is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah,
I'm going to let you pronounce names from now on, because
I'm saying Clavillis.
Clavillis or Clavillis.
And David Cole. No, it's David Cole.
Cole. So they were like working producers, and they were like wrote songs for a bunch of people, like Aretha Franklin and some other folks.
Yep.
And they were also like the house keyboardist and producer for some club around there. And so
they had a band previous to CNC Music Factory, which is already a long and cumbersome name.
It is.
But their other group was called Two Puerto Ricans, a Black Man, and a Dominican. It's a pretty bad band name, and it's wicked long. So I don't know. That's the whole, not into the whole brevity thing.
Yeah, but and who would write that? It's like who are you gonna book? Like, I don't want to remember that name. I'm not gonna book this band. I don't want to remember how. Like, I'm gonna mess this up.
It's pretty funny, right?
But so the two of them, they were also kind of in and out of a studio, because Freedom Williams was in school for audio production, and then he was also like working as a janitor at Quad Recording Studios, which CNC they were in and out of. And so for some reason they like heard Freedom Williams rap on something, and they're like, oh, this guy's really good. They like this flow, like this baritone voice. He's got a great voice, an iconic voice.
He definitely does. And he sounds good. He looks good too. He's in great shape. He's humping in the video.
He's all over it. Yeah, the dude is ripped. He's like 23 in the video, and he is
really
ripped. Like,
he's in good shape.
Good shape. So, so they heard his voice, saw the way he looked probably, and was like, actually, and one of them, I think Cole was gay, so maybe there was a little bit of a crush there too on Freedom Williams. Had the full, had all of it, but whatever.
I mean, maybe he just recognized talent where he sees it. I mean, Freedom Williams is very compelling. He's really good. He looks the part. Like, everyone liked him.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
And even now, like, he's not looked back. They're not looked back as a joke like some of the other, like Vanilla Ice or something.
No. Right. No, this song got kind of overblown and overused. And I think people don't remember it quite as fondly. Like, anytime you needed the upbeat party anthem for a while, it was this one,
but it's a good song.
The hook, just the everybody dance now part. And bam, 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 that was... So it was used a lot, but I mean, it's a good song.
It is a good song.
I think it holds up. I think it holds up great. Like, I wouldn't turn this off if it came on the radio.
No. So but you
can sing along with it. It's like, it's catchy. You can't sing the everybody dance now part, but you can sing along with Freedom. Yeah.
Right. Yes, absolutely. You can sing along with Freedom. Yeah, his rap's not hard either. Like, it's a nice flow,
cool.
But it's easy. It's cool.
Yeah, exactly.
And there isn't a lot of it, actually. He's only two verses.
Right.
You're like 50 seconds before you hear him the first time, and then there's like a big break in between where there's like a B section. So, so
it really is only two verses that he does, right?
Yeah, so it's very achievable. But so they brought him in, and they initially recorded a song, but that song had problems. There was like a copyright suit around it or whatever. I don't know that it ever got released, but then they recorded the 4 or 5 songs that he was on this record and launched it. And so that's it. So this song hit number 1, multiple countries, was number 1 on the dance charts. Yep. There are other 2 songs after this. Here We Go, Let's Rock and Roll, and Things That Make You Go Home. Were both top 5 songs. One was, I think, 3 and one was 4 or something. And then Just a Touch of Love hit 50 on the Hot 100. But then they all charted on the dance chart as well. So
right. Sure.
It was just popular, cross culture, everywhere, in the dance halls, on the radio. Yeah. Here we go. And so they then decide to tour. And they all go on tour for like basically by in 1991 and then into 1992. Come back. There's a large gap between recording the first album and the second album, and Freedom Williams is like, nope, don't want to do it. So he does his own solo album, and then basically Freedom Williams is out. That's it. He's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then the whole band ended because Cole died.
So Cole dies. Right. We think complications
spinal
of AIDS.
meningitis, I think.
Yeah.
I thought it was spinal meningitis.
It was, but I think it was complications of AIDS. I think that's what the people are telling me.
That's the speculation, I guess, but I don't know if that's proof. It hasn't been proven or whatever, but I mean, seems likely.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't do a blood test on him, but maybe, who knows?
The official cause, though, apparently was complications from spinal meningitis, from what I understand.
Well, let's just go with that then, AIDS. But we'll just go with that and move on. But then Freedom Williams, he trademarks CNC Music Factory.
Oh yeah,
and goes on tour as CNC Music Factory,
right?
Which he
doesn't even have a C in his name.
He doesn't have a C in his name.
Zero C's.
He says, well, that's a big smack in the face. What are you kidding me? Like, he wouldn't do another album with us, and then he goes and takes the name? Screw this guy. So, I don't know about Freedom Williams.
Yeah, it's a little weird. I mean, maybe he's just trying to get paid. I mean, people remember CNC Music Factory, the name, more than Freedom Williams, the name, true. You know? But when you think of CNC Music Factory, you think of him saying, I'm just a squirrel trying to get a nut to move your butt, you know?
That's true. Yeah, it's like, basically you think him and whatever female vocalist are with him. You don't think of the rest. Right. You don't think of the producers. Like, who knows them?
CNC? No. They're in the video.
They are in the video. Yeah. And they probably
the video is interesting. They introduced the band in the video. There's like, text that comes on the screen, like it'll be Freedom, and then it'll say Freedom, and then
that's right.
Cole, the producer, and
because they're like, if we're not going to be out front, like, we need our name on this thing somewhere.
Right. Well, I mean, it's a weird band name. Who's the C and C, and then who's this guy singing? It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
In the context of the video, I mean, it makes sense that the band is called CNC Music Factory because it's the two producers producing music, right? But I mean, should it be CNC Music Factory featuring Freedom and Zelma? Like, that's already too long.
I think that's actually
it's a weird band name. It's a weird band name.
I thought that maybe they say that on the record too, like featuring.
Oh, okay.
But no, I'm looking at it now, so they don't. But yeah, it's already too long. But if you're going to name the song after a name, though, it's just a little weird if it's not the lead singer, That's a little weird, because then you think he's CC.
Right.
But it's not, yeah.
I mean, it happens sometimes, like Jay Giles' band,
Oh, yeah, that's Wolf.
Yeah.
Who's singing. Who's Giles?
The guitar player, right?
Yeah, that's right. That is weird. I forget about that.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's a few instances of it, but it's not common.
It's not common. No, it's very weird.
Yeah.
I did look for Freedom Williams' solo album today, and I couldn't find it on Spotify. I even looked his name, Freedom Williams. Maybe he did it under a different name. I don't think he did, but it also didn't look like it charted at all. So, there you go. But after Freedom Williams, CNC Music Factory did chart several other times. Like, they had seven number one dance hits. They're not all on the Hot 100 after this, but on the dance charts. So they were still successful even with the death of Cole. And eventually it was just the second C there, whatever his face is. Clavillis, thank you.
Clavillis.
That's a hard one for me.
It is. It's. You don't expect the L at the beginning.
No, it makes no.
I thought it was like Civilis or something.
Civilis would be a lot easier to remember to say, but Clavillis, kind of like Clevis, I guess. I don't know. Clavillis. It was just him and another rap trio that he brought in that were kind of rounded out CNC Music Factory in its later days. But yeah, and then that was it. So they had kind of a very bright, short, shining moment in time, and then gone.
Yeah, and that's CNC Music Factory.
That's CNC Music Factory. Cool. Anything else about them? I mean, I think that's kind of it. You love the song? I love the song. It's a great song.
Yeah, it's a great song. I think most people like this song, and if you don't like it, you probably don't hate it. You know what I mean?
You probably don't hate it. Yeah, you just might.
It's not offensive. It's pretty catchy. Yeah, for sure. It's definitely was overplayed and has been overused, but I think it's been long enough now that it's time to start using it again.
I agree. Yeah.
I want to see this in movie trailers.
Do you think that it holds up better than You Can't Touch This?
Ooh. Yeah, I guess maybe. I'm not, yeah, I think so. It's a little less cheesy, or it's a different flavor of cheese, maybe.
Yeah.
It's, they're both pretty of the time.
They're of the time, definitely sonically. But to me, MC Hammer, that is like, it's more niche. Let's see, it's more, he's talking about himself a lot.
You Can't Touch This doesn't have as broad general appeal as Everybody Dance Now.
Well, there is that.
That's about as generic as it gets, right? But it sounds good, and it's a good sentiment. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
But You Can't Touch This is kind of like a braggadocious song, right? About what a good dancer and rapper he is, which is also true. I mean, he's pretty good.
He's good.
I like that song.
It's a good song.
But yeah, this one has more general appeal, I think.
I think so. That album did better than this one. Please Hammer Don't Hurt Him or whatever. I think that sold a lot more albums, more probably double or something, but double what this did. But so that was the bigger hit. But this was no slouch. It was number 1 for 5 weeks, and the album did 5-6 million or something. So good for them.
Yep.
All right. That's CNC Music Factory. Anything else about that, or should we talk about what else was going on this week?
Yeah, let's talk about what else was going on this week.
Headlines. I only pulled 2 things.
Headlines.
Because like the major thing was the end of the first Gulf War happened this week. Okay. So that was March 6th, 1991, following the day before Iraq capitulated in the Persian Gulf conflict. I guess we're not calling it a war, even though,
right.
I guess because it was no war it wasn't declared as a war through Congress.
Right. Yeah. Technically not a war, but in all practical purposes, it was a war.
Yeah. And kind of like the biggest coalition of actors since World War II. I mean, you had, it was an international coalition from Britain, from all over the place of people who sent their troops into Kuwait. So the day before Iraq gave up, said no mas, and got out of Kuwait. But it began on August 2nd, 1990. I mean, there were things that led up to it, but Saddam Hussein and Iraqi troops invaded Kuwait. And there's like, this is part of our like childhood, but I don't have as much memory of this as I do like the war on terror. Like 9/11 forward, I have a lot more memories around, and the reasons for things. Like I've been able to, I understand like sort of how international stuff worked, and from 9/11 on. But before that, I didn't really pay. We were young enough. I just didn't pay too much attention. Yeah. And it was over.
Yeah, this was
super quick.
Yep.
So
I remember it happening, but I was, we were kids.
We were kids.
I wasn't like a political kid.
You weren't like
I was listening to CNC Music Factory.
You were so innocent. You were dancing.
Yeah.
But so I know that there were more factors than this, but basically like the invasion was, I think Saddam owed a lot of money for the Iraq-Iran war, and a lot of those funds came through Kuwait. And also Kuwaiti oil production had really gone into overdrive at that time, which was keeping oil costs down. And so he was having a hard time paying his debts back. And so, or Iraq had a hard time paying his debts back. So anyway, that's some of the reasoning that I saw. So on August 2nd, the Iraqi army stormed into Kuwait. And basically like a coalition came together really quickly and gave Saddam until January 15th of 1991 to withdraw. He didn't. So the coalition led by the United States started bombing the crap out of the Iraqi Navy. And then there was a land assault that happened on February 24th, which was just because the capitulation was the 5th of March. So we're only talking like 10 days or something. So
right.
Less than that. So it didn't take long. Apparently a lot of Iraqis were killed though. It looked like somewhere between 25 and 50,000 Iraqis were killed, which is crazy. Yeah. Something like 200 or 250 Americans died. So that's like super asymmetric. And actually I don't know, I thought it was my recollection of it, just because I wasn't paying that much attention, was that there wasn't a lot of casualties on either side, but just a big show of force, but that's not what happened at all. So anyway, that's it wrapped up on March 6th.
And then everyone went and saw the Doors movie.
They did, and they panned it as well. So then, actually, no one saw it. I mean, it only made
I know
$35 million. I don't know that it even had overseas money. Like mostly, that was all US.
The worldwide box office was like $100,000 more than the domestic,
which is crazy. Like, why?
Yeah,
why wouldn't you sell the? Bring it to Paris.
Right,
Parisians
exactly. They
Jim
love
Morrison.
him there.
Okay, so the other thing that I saw was on March 3rd, Brett Hull of the St. Louis Blues, he notched his 70th goal of the season. That's crazy. Giving him back-to-back seasons of scoring over 70 goals. And he finished that year with 86 goals. That's crazy. That's a dominant year. I know you're a big hockey guy, Briggs, but but there's only, 82 games in the season. So, I mean, imagine, you're scoring 86 goals. That's more than one goal per game. That's crazy.
That's a lot.
Crazy production. Maybe the best, is he the best American player? Maybe not the best. Yeah, maybe the best American player. I don't know. Arguably.
I'll have to take your word for it.
I know you would. Of course, the Wayne Gretzky may be widely considered one of the best hockey players ever lived.
Right.
Yeah. But that's all I have for what was going on that week. Anything else we need to discuss about the show?
No, I think that's it.
Well, I'm glad we did The Doors because it was, another music
totally
movie for us. So that was fun. And then, I don't know, it gave us several dimensions there because I could listen to the music. It was good to listen to The Doors music again. I hadn't listened to them in a while.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. All right. Well, soon we'll let you know what's going to be on the next episode. But I do want to remind you, if you are listening to this the day that we release it, which will be Wednesday, the 7th or something, 8th. The next night, so Thursday evening, so tomorrow night, if you're listening to this on the day that we release it, I'll be doing a Twitter Spaces or X Spaces to talk about the film, and I'd love for people to join in with me and watch this movie and see what you think about it. I'd love to hear other opinions if people liked it or not, or if people like The Doors. I don't even know if people still remember The Doors.
Right.
But anyway, that's it. So I guess we're good, Briggs?
Yeah.
All right. Then we will see you next time on Quantum Week. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Bye.